Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.
Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show, sponsored by Arnold Clark. I'm Peter Martin. Thank you very much for joining us on the programme. In the studio this Thursday, Alan Ruff and, as ever, Tam Cowan with us. And we're going to be talking Scotland and, of course, back to domestic issues. Yes, lots to talk about on the programme, and as ever, as you can see, after last week when Tam was wearing a rather fashionable shirt, he's just decided, I'm just going to wear anything now and I'll go with a jacket. It's as simple as that. There's no measure here, there's no line in the sand.
But not just any jacket. You do remember Jamesy Cotter, Ramsey Nesbitt's pal. You know, I think this is quite with the T-shirt on below it as well.
I was waiting for you saying I bid for that in an auction and I've got it, but nevertheless, great to have Tam with us. There's lots of football to talk about, but as ever, with the clubs getting ready for the weekend return to the Premiership, sometimes you have to deal with certain issues. And of course, with Scott Brown being rolled out for the assembled members of the press, it brought up the rather sickening chant that came from a Rangers fan after the Old Firm game, which again, Scott Brown's had his say on it. And basically, the Celtic captain has thanked most of the Rangers fans who've supported him after the abuse that he received.
I think the fans from both sides were phenomenal, to be perfectly honest, but it's not just the one incident that's happened over the last 12 years of my career, 10 years, so it's hard, but it's there, it's sad, it should be happening, and I play football, I play to win 90 minutes, you can shout, you can swear at me as much as you want on the park, but don't go into detail off the part of that, but for me that's finished with. It's about me focusing on playing football now and continuing winning games.
There's a set of supporters that the message will never get into their head, Tam, about how to behave.
No, but that's a classic thing where that was a social issue, I would think, first and foremost, rather than actually anything to do with it. But a wee Ned who thought he'd get his wee moment of glory by shouting something as obscene to that to Scott Brown. And the reaction, Scott Brown's absolutely right, the reaction for the Rangers fans has been tremendous. The reaction I've heard for Rangers fans, I know, including a taxi driver who I see regularly in Glasgow, absolute blue nose, staunch Rangers fan. He'd said to me words along the effect of, see if I'd have got a hold of that bleep, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because the thing is as well, even when he was, sadly took Scott Brown's sister's life, everybody in Scotland, Peter, has got a similar story with a relative or whatever, and nobody was ever going to get away with that. There's a bit of banter and all the rest of it. Scott Brown would have been the first to have a wee smile and a grin or a cheeky thumbs up if the guy had shouted something to Scott Brown about his performances or what else it may have been, but that was just completely beyond the pale. And I think it's been dealt with brilliantly. Right there on the day of the video clip, you saw it was a Rangers fan who moved in right away. Oh mate, that's out of order. You know, that was the immediate reaction. The reaction for the rest of the Rangers fan has been brilliant, quite heartwarming almost, you could say. And what Scott Brown's saying there, I think that's that nipped in the bud and it'll be forgotten about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's, as he mentioned there, it's 12 years. It's no surprise to us, Ruffy, because if we actually pick a staff night out, we have to pick somewhere which we think will be safe enough for Barry Ferguson and he won't get any abuse.
Yeah, I think people need to realise that when you're playing football, obviously you're the idol to a lot of people, but people have to realise that players away from football are just normal guys. They have the same issues to deal with that the ordinary person has, and people have to realise that. I mean, they are family people who want to go day to day about their life without any hassle. Yeah. So the more supporters, behave the way that reacted to the Scott Brown situation, the better.
Yeah. And you know what? When you see an incident like that, It's only got the Celtic fans 110% right behind Scott Brown. Let's be brutally honest. In the Champions League campaign, which petered out, Scott Brown was having his critics at there, and they were Celtic fans saying aloud, is Scott Brown still fit for this stage and all the rest? A wee bit of nip. And then it takes something like that, and then every Celtic fan is right behind Scott Brown, our player, our captain, the legend, all that stuff. So for the wee tube who shouted that out to him, it's backfired, if you like.
Yeah, absolutely. The support has been phenomenal. Of course, there are even stories and suggestions of things that happened during the game that may well have caused a feud between the manager Neil Lennon and Scott Brown, the captain. He firmly put that in its place as well.
Brilliant. Our relationship's always been good. As soon as he came in, he kept me on as captain. He left. We stayed in touch all the way through his time, going away to Bolton, going to Hibs, and we met up on occasions as well. So there's no rift between the two of us whatsoever. It was good to read though, so keep that going.
Yeah, Hamilton against Celtic is the early kick-off on Saturday, and there's a small matter of Rangers against Livingston as the two are obviously neck and neck at the top end of the table. Celtic with that 3-point advantage after the Old Firm victory. But Rangers manager Steven Gerrard has been chatting ahead of that game, and he's been highly critical, Ruffy, of Steve Clarke. He's lost Ryan Jack to injury to his knee, and he reckons that he shouldn't have been training so hard when he joined up with the Scotland squad.
Well, that's obviously a personal opinion between the two of them. Stevie Clarke obviously didn't think that the routine that he put them through was going to damage him in any way. These things happen in football. Footballers pick up, injuries even away for training. So I can see why Stevie Gerrard's probably annoyed. He's lost a player who's in really good form just now. But I don't know why he should be blaming Stevie Clarke.
I'm just flabbergasted, having watched the two games, to hear that the Scotland squad were doing training. Yeah. That's a remarkable exclusive.
I can tell you it's still painful for you, Thomas.
No, again, I never buy it when domestic managers come out with part like this about their players, because, in terms of his value, for him personally, Steven Gerrard, a great player, one of the world's best midfielders of his generation. It certainly did add a certain value to him with his performances for England when he was a fantastic player for him as well. Injuries happen. I can see where he's coming from, of course. It must be a sore one. If I was a Motherwell manager and we lost a player who had been in international duty and got injured, of course you'd be a wee bit riled, but I think I would keep it zipped.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, he's got an injury worry for a key player in the middle of the park, but he's got options at the back end. Remember all the signings that Rangers made in the summer. We haven't seen too much of Philip Helander and George Edmondson. Remember him? Well, he was speaking yesterday, and he reckons that he'd love nothing better than to follow Katic's example at the back end and try and get a regular starting place for Rangers this season.
Yeah. Obviously, you want to be involved in every game. That's what you get in football, to play in these big games. Not saying I would be playing, but to be involved in them. So hopefully I can just keep working hard, and hopefully I'll get a reward or a chance. Yeah, personally, for me, my target will be to get into the team. I knew I wasn't going to come straight into it, but I do set personal targets on little things like I'd like to achieve, but I normally just keep them with me.
He hasn't had a sniff, Ruffy.
No, he hasn't, and Rangers are fortunate. They've got 4 reasonable centre-halves, so it's just a matter of trying to bide your time and wait until you get in the side, and then you can show everybody how good you are, and that's the only reason that will happen to him once he gets the chance, but it's up to him.
Yeah, just before we talk about Champions League, maybe even a sniff that Scottish clubs will have a chance to play in a third European tournament, let's have a look first of all at today's quiz. Yeah, Tam, don't give me the answer, but are you on the case? Are you on the case?
Yeah, because that ages you. I'm still at the vintage where live games on the telly were a rarity, and when you watch games like that as a kid, all your pals would congregate. Our best playing field near where we grew up was just known affectionately as the Telegraph Pole, because yes, there was a telegraph pole in the middle of that lovely patch of grass. And whether it was the one that Ray Wilkins scored in a famous cup final, maybe a replay, a wee swervy effort.
Brighton.
Whether it was, I think Norman Whiteside got a wee swervy effort as well. Would have been
Everton.
a classic goal, or when Ricky Villa dribbled round half the teams in a replay as well, I believe.
Against Man City.
There we go, you're doing very well. And there was no phones then, and it was barely even a landline phone in a lot of houses. But your pals just knew, right, get the ball, we're going up to try and score a goal like that. Yeah. And the gentleman there with the fuzzy hair, I remember that vividly, and we were all trying to emulate him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Them were the days. Far too much for, but I mean, Peter, you're saying there about, you're trying to talk up, Hamilton against Celtic, but a noon game live on the telly, I think the fans at large are sick and tired of them. That game has got written all over it that Celtic will open the scoring in the 6th minute, and then it will be boring schmoring. They need to have a think about this.
Yeah, okay, write that down, Ruffy, for
just
responsive gambling, to be honest with you. But I'm going to go with the 6th.
Well, my predictions so far have been very good. The Scotland double header, 2-0 I went for, and I thought we were close against Belgium. Really close. We get the nil bit. I got the Scotland bit right. Always remember that.
The most amazing thing about it, though, is you have to admit, and I've never once thought that you would admit to the fact that you chucked it after 3-0.
Yep. I think everybody's got their own pecking order here when it comes to football. I'm a Motherwell fan first and foremost, Scotland fan second, okay?
Yeah.
So when it comes to the Scotland games, I'm not a regular attender of the Scotland games, but I would never ever miss one live in the box. Met up with one of my pals. We watched it in the Auctioneers bar just off George Square in Glasgow. It's been recently refurbed. Great one for watching the football. It was a Monday night. If it had been a sensible night of the week, we're always looking and thinking, we're going for a curry after this. Time was marching on. Places were shutting earlier. We got to half time and we said, stuff this for a game of soldiers. And at 3-0, even though Ailey Barber, who was presenting the coverage, finished as she led into the second halfway. Can Scotland pull it back? One of the great rhetorical questions of all time. But we didn't wait to find out. At 3-0, we skedaddle to make sure we had a good table for our scoff.
The same thing happened with players as well. I remember when we played Brazil, when the third one went in, I went, I'm out of here.
I'm glad to say Ruffy hung around for the Adair chip to make it 4. Anyway, apart from that, I mean, in the morning papers, you've got Lee Griffiths saying, woof, I want to be there for the Russia away game. We've got 4 games with Steve Clarke undoubtedly going to try and test the waters. Even Craig Halkett was out there yesterday saying, want to play well for Hearts, and I really would like to be involved for Scotland as well.
Yeah, I wasn't too disappointed. Obviously, it's a big step in your career. Obviously, getting called up to the national squad. It's something I'd love to do in the future, and it's something I'm kind of striving towards. So, going forward, definitely that's something I want to do. But I didn't get too disappointed with not being involved in the squad.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's a big no-nonsense guy as well. I don't care where they come from. Just find 2 centre halves.
Absolutely, and I've not seen a lot of him in the flesh, except obviously last year when he was playing against Motherwell, and he looked decent. But I've been intrigued by the amount of plaudits he's been getting for the pundits, for the guys in TV studios, etc. So he's clearly got something about him. But I just wonder if Stevie Clarke is going to muck about with the team too much, because he has gone on record as saying, and it's a wee bit, it mirrors what he did at Kilmarnock, he's going to kind of stick with the players that he's got, and he's going to really try and get the best out of them. Now, he was amazingly successful with that at Kilmarnock. I know he's already getting pelters, and every man he's dug in the country is chucking names into the mix. But I think he's going to go with that hardcore kind of squad that he's got, the guys that he's working with, and just strive to get the very, very best out of them. But definitely, if I can be one of the guys that chucks something into the mix as well, and I think we all agree, sitting around the table here, Lee Griffiths, just get him in there, give him a go. Hugely talented. We can't be missing out on guys like that, even if it is for a wee short burst towards the end of a game.
Yeah, I agree with you. OK, we'll give you a little surprise at the end, still staying in the Scotland theme as well, if your memory can flash back quite a few years. Stick with us, still a bit of Scotland to come. We're just going to switch to the Champions League because there's a story obviously doing the rounds now, Ruffy, that there could be a revamp, could be a third-tier competition, reintroduced. The Cup Winners' Cup disappeared, but there could be another European competition. It might give some of our Scottish clubs another chance to play in Europe, hopefully beyond August. But over and above that, it could still offer Rangers and Celtic a chance to get into Champions League proper somehow before they start really pushing for the elite clubs and everybody else is bombed out.
Yeah, well, you would like to think Rangers and Celtic would be part of the elite if they won the league. You know, the criteria that these two set, the stadiums, the crowds that they get, and if they win the league, they should be in it. But I think it's just another carrot getting thrown out there for all the small clubs. There's a couple of wee tournaments you can play in. We're off somewhere else. We're going to play in a massive big tournament, and you lot aren't good enough. So there's a couple of wee cups you can play for. Yeah,
to be perfectly honest with you, Tam, we're not good enough. I mean, we can, try every day. You can try on your radio show. We can try on this show as well to bum up our game. The standard of player has dropped considerably, and even the best of them are not at the level that they should be.
Absolutely, and the only revamp I think, real football fans are interested in, if the guys in at UEFA, and we know that Peter Lawwell's on a couple of these committees, they need to champion the door of the high Hagians and say, look, can we please just make the Champions League for champions only?
Yeah.
That would be a start. Any other revamp I am simply not interested in, apart from at domestic level. As a Motherwell fan, I would like them to revamp the Challenge Cup so that us Motherwell fans can get a wee taste of it, because we have never qualified for the Challenge Cup because we've been a really, really big club. I've seen teams like Rangers in the Challenge Cup. I've seen teams like Hearts. I've seen teams like Hibs. I've seen teams like Dundee United. What is this Challenge Cup that they keep talking about? Motherwell have never qualified. So even gives a wee wild card entry just to dabble in it and see what it's like.
Yeah, absolutely. Knowing your luck, you'd win it as well. And then there'd be a commemoration, then a Hall of Fame, then everybody would be right into it as well.
I'll tell you one thing, it was a great Motherwell's history with the Challenge Cup is hosting finals when it was the old B&Q Cup when they were a sponsor. 14,000 crowds. Going up in a terrible, terrible condition, snowy, ice, I remember, to watch Falkirk against St Mirren. And I agree with Ian McCall this week, who says the amount of times they've revamped it, and you've got, Ayr going down to Wrexham last week. Ayr had half a team. Wrexham deliberately put out half a team because they reckon they had bigger fish to fry. Yeah. The only thing I would say, though, for fans that don't maybe get the glamour trips and that and never get a sniff of Europe, the Ayr United fans went down there in big numbers, 400 of them. Yeah. And I think, come on, this is a night out, a weekend out, whatever, and it's something different. We're playing Wrexham, who no many moons ago, you'll remember, Ruffy, yeah. They were seen as a big team in the English League setup, Yeah. So, it's a funny one, but maybe the answer to all of that, bring back the Anglo-Scottish Cup that you'd have played in as well. The fans, I know for a fact, growing up as a kid at Motherwell, some great midweek nights at Fir Park that fans of a certain generation still talk about with a great warmth. Have a go at that.
Yeah, well, as you can see and hear, Tam's got a great memory for things, so let's take him back. 12 years ago, I think we were all hoping that we could pull off another miracle after mugging France at Hampden Park with Gary Caldwell scoring the goal. Suddenly, this happened in the Parc des Princes after we were being mollicated for a substantial period of time.
McFadden drags it down now, long way out. Oh, what a goal! What a goal! What a goal by McFadden! Magic from James McFadden! He's a genius again for Scotland! They've been suckered in the Parc des Princes! James McFadden from 40 yards into the roof of the net! Pick it out, Landrew! France 0, Scotland 1!
Ruffy, that was a great memory, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think I was four rows behind you when that goal went in, and I could hear you from where I was sitting with the commentary when they hit it. But I think it took everybody by surprise, because you're right, it was an absolute hammer from start to finish, apart from that goal.
Do you know the great thing about it, Tam? You know, we're talking about the dearth of talent. James McFadden was a talisman for Scotland. He wasn't, he's first to admit himself, he had the potential to be absolutely top drawer.
Absolutely.
But there was a wee element that he admits himself was missing. But he's the type of guy you walked away from games and you remembered, because geniuses do that. They give the fans something to talk about forever and a day.
Absolutely. Bear in mind, he ended up having 4 spells at Motherwell, and I still argue that he was one of the last guys that I've seen in a Motherwell strip who did genuinely get the fans out their seats.
Yeah.
When the ball landed at his foot, you expected something to happen.
Livingston at Fir Park, do you remember?
Oh, absolutely. Demolished them. A Scottish Cup tie against Clyde at Broadwood, one of the coldest days I've ever experienced at the football. But he warmed your cockles with a tasty hat trick. And amazing. And I'd argue as well, Peter, and it's one for your viewers, that that's kind of like a JFK moment for me. I think every Scotland fan, you clearly do, every Scotland fan will remember exactly where they were when Faddy scored that goal. And I was in the Whistler's mother. I hope the Whistler mother finds it. No, it was a pub. Do you remember? It was a pub. It's no longer there. It's in Byers Road. Yeah. And it was in Byers Road. I think it's now an Asian restaurant. But I was in the Whistler's mother with 2 of my mates, Ron and Colin. Colin McCready, Taggart star.
Yes.
And we were watching it in there that night, and the whole place was going absolutely bananas. But I bet you for anybody tuned in, that is a JFK moment.
Well, I have to say, Ruffy, I never thought I'd mention echoes of Joe Cammy there with that gag from Tam. to be perfectly honest with you, never thought I'd get Joe's name in the programme. But anyway, apart from anything else, James McFadden, we would love one of those goals in the forthcoming fixtures. Certainly something to remember. We'd love one of those players as well, to be perfectly honest with you. Thanks to Tam for joining us on the programme tonight. Don't forget, with Tam, we will have Facebook Live that you can join us on our social media. You can see there every Thursday. And of course, you can interact with us on YouTube as well. Don't forget to subscribe to our ever-growing football family. Thanks to everyone who's been following us across all the social media. It's growing bigger and bigger by the day. Thanks to Ruffy, thanks to Tam, and from me, Peter Marsden. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.
Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.